Hello, everybody. Welcome
Yeah.
to the Proper Good podcast. How are you
Hiya.
doing?
Good, thanks.
Good.
Hi. Yeah.
Lovely. It's a very, very sunny Tuesday here in Bolton today. And we're here at Title Pro Studios to record what is our third recording of the Proper Good podcast, although people will watch it in all different orders, I would imagine. I'm Lisa, and I'm the project coordinator for Proper Good. And for anyone who's new to this and doesn't know what Proper Good is, it's a programme of support and investment for social enterprises. It's a Greater Manchester-wide project, but we work very specifically here in Bolton, trying to offer really accessible support to the enterprises in our town. The aim of the programme is to help the social economy to thrive, and the social economy is all those organisations that, as well as making money and contributing to our local economy, also give back to communities and support communities. So we're talking charities, community interest companies, co-ops, all those organisations that do amazing things. And we know that a thriving social economy makes our places like fair and just places to live and work and be. And the aim of this podcast is to tell some of the stories of those organisations in our town, to tell some of the stories of Proper Good support, and help people to get a picture of the sector and the stuff that we've got going on, spotlighting organisations, having interesting conversations that we think are relevant. And the aim of this episode, and the reason that you guys are here today, is to explore a little bit our business mentoring programme. That is one of the things that we offer through Proper Good. So there's a few more guests in the room today than we've had before, which is really nice. I'm hoping it's going to make for a nice, energetic conversation. And there's no need for me to introduce you all, but it'd be great if you could maybe just tell us your name, your organisation, Cilla Black, what's your name, where'd you come from, kind of thing. Gives a sense who we've got in the room. We'll start over here with you.
I'm Billy Darroch, so I'm co-founder of Funding Futures. We're a community interest company that works with disadvantaged women to help them reach financial independence and proper independence through education and mentorship.
Very nice work.
I'm Scott Mitchell. I'm from Elite Community Hub, which is a branch off from Elite Boxing. We outgrew the gym and we were doing a lot of social impact work. So we moved all that onto one floor and opened Elite Community Hub as an umbrella for all those projects that we were doing.
Nice, thanks.
And I'm John Hastings, founder of Recycle IT. We're a community interest company that's a social business that collects and recycles computer equipment, and we put it back into the community. Yeah.
Nice. Thanks very much. And you can see that the three of you, one of the reasons that I asked you to come here is because you're all from quite sort of different sectors, really. We've got health and sport and, recycling and e-waste, and we've got skills and training over here. So it's really great to sort of see the breadth, actually, of what social enterprises do and what you can bring to the table. So you all attended, you've all been involved with Proper Good in various different ways since the programme started 3 years ago. I'll say you've all touched in with it at different times. But the one bit, as I say, that I wanted us to kind of have a chat about today was the business mentoring programme.
Yeah.
So I thought it'd be useful for me to just explain a little bit about that for the people who are listening or watching. And why we developed it, really. And as I said at the beginning, the aim of Proper Good is to offer accessible support for social businesses in Bolton. And we had a sense when we started delivering that there was this gap, and now we really know that there's a gap around really accessible support for social entrepreneurs, both in terms of where it's delivered and how it's delivered, that's really bespoke and tailored to their needs. And I know from my experiences, I used to run a social business. I run a community grocers. And a lot of the offers around business mentoring, are either very Manchester-centric. So if you're sort of boots on the ground, running front-facing service, like we all are here delivering something, it's very difficult to take time out of your business to schlep into town. As much as it's a lovely day to schlep into Manchester for the day, it's difficult to find the time sometimes. Or it has a price tag attached to it that you can't necessarily find when you're in a start-up company. or it's very focused around a commercial corporate business, which, although a lot of that is relevant for what we do, there's also this extra bit when we're running social businesses that often isn't kind of reflected in that kind of support. So we wanted to develop something that kind of ticks some of those boxes. It was accessible, it was based in Bolton, it was free at the point of use, and that it was relevant for social entrepreneurs, but also that it was tailored and bespoke, because we run a lot of workshops, and workshops are great, not only because you get the expertise of the people in the room, but you get to meet everybody else, and it's a good way to facilitate peer networks and stuff. But what we see again and again and again is that actually when you come, Scott, and you've got an issue about your business, it's a very specific issue. What you need support with isn't going to be the same as what John does or what Billy does. So we wanted to really develop something that kind of offered that accessible, really bespoke support. So that's what the business mentoring program is. And it's a mix of one-to-one support with a consultant, and we've got a pool of mentors representing all different kinds of expertise. And we match entrepreneurs, depending on what they tell us their development needs are, to a mentor that it feels like will be a good fit for them, who's got the right expertise for their needs. And then we have some group workshops so that you get to meet other people in the network. And sometimes that's gone on to facilitate, trading relationships, sometimes not, but it's nice to offer that support. And then there's an opportunity for those organisations that are eligible to apply for a £1,000 grant at the end of it to implement some of the things that you've worked on with your mentor, because we also recognise that in this gig a lot of your money is restricted, and you don't necessarily just have the cash to invest in some marketing materials or pay yourself for a few days so that you can free yourself up to work on the business rather than in it. So so that's what we're aiming to do. So that's the mentoring program, and it's part of our ongoing package of support in Proper Good, of workshops and networking and that kind of thing. So what I'm really interested in, and what we've really come here to talk about, is kind of your experience of the mentoring program. And I think I'd like to start by asking each of you, what was it that attracted you to the mentoring program? Why did you apply initially? Kind of where was your business at? What was it that you were looking for support with? And what did you kind of explore and develop through it? And should we start with you, Scott?
Okay.
Is that all right?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, that's fine. I'm glad you started with me, to be honest. So the first thing for us, we were going from, having no idea. We most boxing gyms are making a lot of social impact, but we don't have a clue what we're doing, or we didn't have I bet most other boxing coaches don't understand the difference they're making to the community. So then we set up this CIC and got put in touch with you. And then we end up on the course, or I end up on the course. And a big part was just understanding the terminology, because you don't have a clue what you're doing. Like social impacts was a new phrase at the time, and then looking at what we're actually doing. And we know what we're doing, but writing it down, and then telling people about it. And that was a massive thing, getting it out there that we're doing this. We've been doing all this work for years, and not shouting about it, not telling anyone what we're doing. And you realize that's, what we had to do. So it was like bringing us up to speed, in those terms, and then being put in touch with, the specialists that you put us in touch with, and listening to them and learning off them. And eventually, you put us in touch with Gary.
Yeah.
And Gary Lovett, was a big part of it. He, and quite a few good things came off Gary. He put us in touch with a couple of schools, and we got, working with their pupils. He did us, because we were already working with a few schools, but then we didn't have, a brochure or anything to give to people. So Gary did us a brochure. A big part of what he did was did us this brochure, and it got me involved, and we designed it between us. And that shows all the work that we're doing with all these different organizations, not just schools, like the youth vending team and connections, all these different people. So, now we can show schools what we're doing, and like all schools want different things off us. There's some schools want us working with just a couple of kids, and other schools want us working with as many kids as they can get us working with. So it's different programs. So we had to make these bespoke programs for each different school. But it's all coming together. Yeah. So
no, and I remember at the time you saying part of the kind of the revelation of the mentoring was just writing stuff down, like being like, oh, actually now. And I've had this conversation with a few people who've been through the program who say, actually, the thing that it gave us more than anything is that when somebody rings up and says, how much will it cost for this? We can just go, oh, it'll cost this much, rather than, because as you say, you've been delivering that work for ages just because it's just what you do. But having it there as a kind of saleable offer that you can go, oh, this is what we do. And you can, and it's that thing in business, isn't it? You've got to make it easy for your customer to buy something from you.
Packaging it up.
Yeah, exactly. What about you, John? What attracted you initially?
Again, what you were talking about before, tailored support. So we run a very specific and unique social enterprise that collects and recycles computer equipment. It's not your average community organization. And I've been fortunate to go through the School of Social Entrepreneurs. So a lot of the things around third sector and social impact and community centric and co-creation and things like that, we've already implemented and put in. What we were struggling with was completely the opposite, was the business side of it. The savvy side was commercializing and innovating our product and service. And what, it was Kerry, I think it was. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it'd be great if you were mentioning your mentor. From a little plug up the old LinkedIn.
Yes. She came in and she was she helped us be the goldfish out of the bowl and see actually why we're not working on our revenue streams. Why are we not diversifying where we get, looking for support from the Department for Education for the placements that we have for remunerations and running costs. And it literally overnight flipped us and took us from a point of where we were struggling and looking for funding and looking at moving margins to, oh, okay, we're comfortable. We've got the year's rent. We've got everything sorted. We've got, And it was literally, it was a light bulb moment for us. It was like, of course, we have students, we have placements. Why don't we look for funding mechanisms for them from state, from local authority, from education?
It's almost that same thing again, isn't it? It's like you're doing the work, you're doing that good work, but it's getting somebody to come in and say, oh, actually, this is a whole thing that you can package up here. Actually.
You have a viable offer here. Yeah, you have a what they call it, a USP with it. Yeah.
Absolutely. So that's interesting. So for you, it was about commercialization and kind of how you...
Yeah, and that started our process. And now it's kickballed into, we've diverted 40 tons. We've collected 5,000 devices. We've worked with 2,500 hours with the community also. No, sorry, 5,500. But more importantly, now we're going for our ISOs. And we're going for contracts, and it's put us into that, commercialize that framework where we're actually going through lean methodology and standardizing, sorting, sweeping so we were actually going along the ITAD route, the commercial business route, but still remaining social recyclers.
Yeah. No, that's amazing. It's amazing. And then, so what about you, Billy? Because I know you were in a slightly different position to these guys when you first came to it. Kind of, you came for a slightly different reason. Where were you at?
So I came almost knowing exactly what I needed, which is, I was fortunate enough that a lot of my sort of career had been around business in like a commercial setting. And one thing that I knew was a weakness was understanding the process of evidencing social impact. So I arrived and I was like quite competent at the business side, quite competent at the contracts and the operations, but there was I genuinely think an organization's ability to demonstrate that not only their understanding, but evidence their impact is the bridge between sort of doing social good and having like commercial success. So I asked specifically for Karen Smith. And Karen really helped me understand and document a process of not just understanding like the technicalities of social impact, how to document it, how to then celebrate it, but then also how to put it in a language that makes it commercially viable.
I've heard you say that a few times. I think that's really important.
And now it means that when we form a partnership, either with a business who's helping fund the futures of some ladies, or even help us stock our beauty bank, we're able to provide impact reports that are like really mature and advanced, and it stands us like way ahead of most people in the sector in that it's mutually beneficial. And that, I think that's the thing that, because of like financial constraints, social constraints, we're getting to a point where just doing something good isn't enough. You need to be able to explain and evidence what you're doing good, what good it's done, and almost like if there's lasting impact or there's a legacy, how do you demonstrate that? So that's really what I came to the mentoring, and I was really specific. I was like, I want you, like, and so Karen was brilliant. She helped us like really build those foundations. The type of brain I've got, I then went both feet into the rabbit hole, and I've ended up getting an ECHAL level 3 qualification in the social value, social impact journey. And I like, if I'm in a room, I like being an authority on a subject. That's kind of just my personality, and the mentorship was like the first steps on that road for me. So
that's ace. What can you tell us a little bit about what Funding Futures does? I'll come to you all on that actually, because I realise we've not, for the purposes of people watching at home, we've not really explained that much what your organisations do.
So if I can have a minute, you can
have a couple of minutes,
right? Okay, I'll So my wife Hayley and I own a business, HD Beauty, and in the last 10 years we've grown that to 4 salons, a training centre, and a wholesale outlet. And about 3 years ago, things were going okay, and we wanted to give back. Hayley's always been really passionate that beauty shouldn't be seen as something that people fall back on. It's a proper career that people can be really successful in. So we started working with alternative provision kids and girls in schools. We also started working with local charities and supporting vulnerable women and women who've experienced trauma and disadvantage. And we self-funded for 18 months just because things were going okay. We wanted to give some back. So in 18 months of self-funding, we'd actually helped 270 ladies, ranging from well-being and beauty treatments through to education. We'd actually qualified 26 beauticians, and we knew that we were just scratching the surface, but that's all we could have afforded to do. So we literally had conversations where I was saying to Hayley, we can't adopt people, we can't save the world. And we got to a point where we kind of had 3 options, which was pat ourselves on the back and say we've done some good, but we need to move on. Either cap what we could do because it was sort of escalating, or explore setting it up in its own right. And we'd always called it Funding Futures, set it up in its own right. So we then came to you. You were the very first person that we ever spoke to, walked into Bolton CVS and said, we're really naive. We're quite experienced, but we're really naive. Help us. So long story short, we set up Funding Futures as a CIC. But that 18 months of being self-funded, we knew the majority of barriers that stood in the way of young girls and women to gain independence, and would come across like every background that you don't want to imagine, and help them. So we then since then we've started delivering programs, and we started in beauty. We've expanded to customer service, digital, and managing your own mental health and resilience. But we started delivering programs in June last year. Last month we celebrated our 300th graduate since June, and I'm really pleased to say that after the program we offer 12 weeks of mentorship, and we're now tracking at 82% of our graduates within 12 weeks have gone into employment, self-employment, or registered for further education. We've gone from it being me and Hayley to me, Hayley, and a team of 13. And four of those are ladies that have come through our program.
It's beautiful.
So it's been like really organic. It's been really quick. So we've had to be sort of agile and
It's been really quick. It doesn't seem like 2 minutes ago that you and Haley came in and we had that chat, you know.
And at that point, we were like, "What's a kick?
Yeah.
What's a?"
Yeah.
And we just didn't know. We knew we didn't want to be a charity because we didn't want to sort of operate on goodwill.
Yeah.
But we didn't really know what the alternatives were. So that's funding futures.
It's just been amazing to watch that journey. That's an annoying word, isn't it? But I'm going to use it anyway. You know, it has been just wonderful to watch it, and I think there is something really interesting in what you guys said here. Like, because everybody's come from different backgrounds in terms of like you very much were doing the social good already, and it was about kind of commercializing. You've come with the commercial experience already, and you needed support with that social accounting bit, and it's kind of really reflective, I think, of the kind of of the differences that I see with the people and the businesses that we support and kind of needs that people have. And that's why we need this program that's got all these different aspects to it, you know, that can offer these different kinds of supports. It'd be really great to hear from you, John, a little bit more about what Recycle IT does then.
Okay. Yes, so we're born out of the need for e-waste recycling. I'm not going to call it it's waste electrical and electronic equipment. It's also
Explain that.
Waste electronic equipment, but e-waste is much more simpler for us to understand. Electronic waste. At home, you've got the purple, black, and yellow bins, but there isn't one for any e-waste. So, and then on top of that, you have, I think roughly, according to the Digital Task Force figures, somewhere in the region of 1.2 million people are digitally isolated. So that's sharing devices, not got access to the internet, or haven't got a device or a stable connection or a stable way to go online. So you have all this waste on one side, you have all of this need on the other side, but then you have the industry, the ITAD, information technology, asset disposal or dispersal, that drives it. And I kind of thought back, it's a legacy organization that I took over and had a fortunate chance to come into a chance of. I was a big issue seller once back in that time. So I understand about the gaps and margins and differences and challenges. And I had the chance in 2021 to start this off. And we started with 250 pace. My classic saying about it is we started with 200, we walked into Bolton CVS, and I had £250, a laptop, a bench, and a great idea. Yes, and we literally started in the Social Enterprise Centre and Commerce House on Trinity Way back in 2021, and it's just we're registered with the Environment Agency, so we are T11 repairers and refurbishers, and we're registered with the government for waste transfer, duty of care, and data destruction. So we're upper tier waste carriers and brokers. So I have to get that in. We're not just a social enterprise. We're actually officially licensed. We're officially in place to do that. Our insurances cover us, our processes, our SOPs, everything's in there to take standard operating procedures and everything can click. In fact, one of our recent clients, Scan Computers, we've just done the compliancy check for being a supplier with them. Oh, really? So, and we passed mustard with Scan.
That's fantastic.
Yes, which is a major milestone for us. So the other part of it is, well, if you have the industry that drives B2B in assets, in computer assets that are going back and forth, and waste as well, this includes e-waste. Why can't we do a social version of it where we don't have to push the margins up? We don't have to charge £150, £200 for a reconditioned or refurbished laptop, because if we work with the community and teach them how to do it through colleges and universities and placements and volunteers and dedicated trained staff that are qualified as well, then we don't have the overheads of staff. But we do have the community inclusion and community co-production, and we can keep our laptops down at £50 instead, which annoys the gross company, it annoys the business advisors really much. But that's our social mission, is to bridge the digital divide.
And it's a beautiful model, isn't it? You take this thing that would normally go into landfill with all of the precious minerals and everything that are in that going into landfill. Mm-hmm. You skill people up to refurbish that, so those people get an experience and learning. And then you also have an end product that you can return back to the community at a really affordable rate. And it's a really beautiful thing. And I think there's real similarity with what you do there in terms of you have a young woman who has got a need, who's disadvantaged in some way. She's looking for something, so you skill her up, and then she's got all of these skills to go back out into her life and live a fully, and reach her potential in life. And it's that something that I really like about social enterprises is often like the thing is quite it's quite a simple model often, actually. It's like
it is a simple model of
seeing an issue,
Yeah.
seeing a solution, and then figuring out how you make that into something that can work.
How do we still like that?
Yeah. And what about you then, Scott? Tell us a little bit more about, because I know loads about Elite, because I'm really lucky that I live around the corner and my kids come to you, and it's the most amazing place in our neighbourhood, I think. But tell people what you do.
So I worked at Elite Boxing for a long time. I was an ex-professional boxer, and we're situated in Halliwell. Halliwell's quite a deprived area. One of the things we realised we weren't doing is we weren't really interacting with the local community. We were in certain ways, and we built this big amateur boxing squad. We were offering free over 50s classes, to keep the older population active. So we're delivering all these things, working with transforming lives. But because we were a limited company, we weren't getting any funding for any of the stuff we were doing. So we'd outgrown the gym. The floor above us came available. We decided to open that. We opened it as a kick, CIC, to transfer all those classes to that. So the amateur boxing squad went up the free over 50s class. We started doing, we call it free kids classes, but the funded kids classes. So we put on all these different sessions, trying to, make boxing available for the local community, for everyone in the local community. Not quite there yet. We've got a couple more jobs to do, but we're getting there. So then now you see that we are working with the local community. We've got the local kids coming in. Callum and his missus run a half. So then you're seeing all the kids from the local streets coming in the gym, using the gym. Then they're starting coming to the free kids classes, and obviously the future will be that they're actually on the amateur boxing squad. And so some of them will be, and making that journey, that progression. We're working with a couple of schools already. Now we're working with quite a few schools. We go out to a couple of schools, a few pros come to us. We do a lot of work, and then you can see that then we're getting those kids into the gym, doing the funded classes, with the pinnacle that I always talk about is a lad called Sam Lane, who came through Youth Challenge, did a little bit of training in his schoolwork, said, I want to be here more. Said, do the funded classes. He was doing all the funded classes. He said, I want to be here more. I said, do your work experience there. Spoke to his teachers. He was there. I think he came 2 days a week doing his placement. Got really good, got on the amateur boxing squad. I think he's about 20 fights now. He's won a high percentage of them. And then he left school and he was like, I need a job. So we sorted him out an apprenticeship. So he did his level 1. He's now on his level 2. So you're seeing this massive transformation. And Sam, he could finish working for us now and go and work somewhere else, and it wouldn't be a problem. You're thinking, like, we've done our job, and now we've got another kid. We've got, I call them kids, but we've got Amelia. She's doing an apprenticeship with us now, and you're thinking, how far can we take that? Because if we just kept on, one kid at a time, that'd be brilliant. But can we grow that side of the business?
Yeah. And my experience of all of your places, but I've probably got most hands-on experience of yours, it's just that really welcoming environment that you create there, and everybody just feels so comfortable, and you can see everybody, even the kids to the coach, you can see all of the routes for progression and challenge, and it's just a really lovely space to be.
I think that's where we break the mold, because there's not many boxing gyms like that, not many martial arts gyms like that are so welcoming.
Yeah,
most
it completely challenged all of my assumptions when I first walked in through your door. I was blown away.
Yeah, you do get that. We'd go sparring at other gyms. We'd walk in, everyone would stop and stare at you. Yeah. Do you know what we're thinking? We were like, professional boxers walking into a gym, and that's quite intimidating even to professional fighters, never mind someone who's walking in off the street who's never done any boxing before, and they walk into that environment. So like, our gym's nothing like that. You walk in and there's loads of friendly coaches there. Someone's going to come over, speak to you, put you at peace, sit you down somewhere, make you feel welcome.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the beauty of our gym, I think.
Yeah. No, and I agree, and I've seen it myself, feel it myself every week when I bring the kids. It's a wonderful place, and all three of you are just doing amazing work in your different fields.
Thank you.
So what?
So are you. You're doing amazing stuff.
Yeah.
Bringing this to her. Yeah. But without signposters, without Bolton CVSs, without the VCSE community being there and steered and guided for us, we wouldn't have these access points.
None of this would be happening, would it?
No.
Well,
we'd be still at home scratching out, going, "How do we do this? How do we?"
Yeah.
Well, we really, and that's what we're here to exist to do. To be able to often, I think my experience of being an entrepreneur back in the day and also working with all you guys is that often what you need more than anything is just a sounding board. It is like critical friend. It can be such a lonely gig, either when you're starting up or you're trying to sort of pivot into something else, or you're trying to develop a new bit of your business. It can be really lonely and hard work if you're on your own. And I think there's something really specific as well about being a social enterprise, because, and I'm speaking of my own experience here, but when I did reach out, I didn't really understand the sort of the power of mentoring and stuff when I was running my business, and I really regret that now. But even when I did reach out to people often, they were only talking about the financial bottom line. And don't get me wrong, that is important when you're running a social enterprise. You've got to pay the bills, you've got to keep the electric on, and you've got to pay your mortgage, you know what I mean? None of us can do it just completely out of the goodness of our hearts, as much as we'd love to. So the money is important, but we all have this extra bit, which all three of you have talked about, actually, the ability to be able to do that great work, but record it, document it, shout about it, understand it, and for people that you're talking to understand why that would be as much of a consideration as the financial bottom line. And I think that was what was missing for me in my journey, and I really hope that is what we're creating for people in our sector, is that you can come and there'll be people who sort of understand the breadth of it, even if they don't know your specific sector. So you talked a little bit about I've heard a bit about where the impact on your business, but I don't know if any of you've got anything to say about like what kind of distance did the mentoring program help you travel? Like where are you now, and what role did the mentoring play in that? That'd be a good question. I'm going to start with you, Pillar.
Okay. Well, I suppose the biggest single difference was the confidence to apply for and negotiate for big contracts, because we were at a point where we could demonstrate outcomes, we could demonstrate a theory of change, and we could demonstrate like how we would do it and the results. But what we couldn't quite do, that the impact reporting and the mentoring helped us, is flip it to a contractor and say, what's in it for you?
Yeah.
And almost,
that's really key.
What are you getting out of this? And so like I said, I went down the rabbit hole and tried becoming an authority on social impact in my own right. But it meant that, and I genuinely believe it had a huge part to play in us winning like larger contracts. So we're now contracted directly with 4 local authorities and GMCA, so Greater Manchester Combined Authority as a whole, and like two of those contracts are 6-figure contracts, and that's from a standing start in 12 months. Now it's one of those, like, and I'm really keen that like nothing happens without the person delivering it. So like all of us probably would have got to where we're going without help. But the thing with the mentorship and Proper Good, it's like an acceleration.
Yeah.
It's
without a doubt.
Yeah. And it means that, potentially we might have waited 2 to 3 years to win those contracts. And before you know it, we're winning them within a matter of months because our knowledge, skill set, and most importantly, the confidence is we've got it, so that we're going into a room equipped with that, and suddenly it's not daunting.
Yeah.
I mean, it kind of is, because you're like, oh my God. Like, I can remember us, me and Hayley being on a Teams call where we were like finalising a 6-figure contract. We were like, thank you very much for your time. And did the call and did like a kitchen dance and a high five. And so it's like, it's massive. It's huge as both a business owner, an entrepreneur, and thinking, oh my God, that's like hundreds of women that we can help. But actually, you do need to sort of step back and reflect and go, actually, if it wasn't for that introduction, if it wasn't for that one session where we talked about that one thing that seemingly in that conversation, like clinched it for us, or like was something that a funder really like engaged with, and it's like that's really what the mentoring has done for us. And I would say that Karen starting from the bottom up and going through, right, here's the process from A to B, meant I could then take that understanding and start leveling it up.
Yeah. And I think the thing that I've observed of you and Hayley throughout sort of the process of developing Funding Futures has been that you've got a real sort of thirst for knowledge, and as a result you put yourself in lots of places. Do you know what I mean? You've really done loads of legwork about going and meeting people, being in spaces, listening to things, going to sessions, drinking it up, so that, like you say, you now have this confidence, because often it is language, isn't it? Often it is, you're in a room and you think, oh, well, I know what I do, and I know what I do is great, but I've not got a clue what this lot are talking about, you know? So that kind of being in the places that enable you to absorb all of that language and all of that knowledge, I think I've observed you do that so well. And it sounds like saying that's like really paid off.
And I think what you were saying before about the fact that, you know, when you were a social entrepreneur, you didn't know the scale of what was out there. Maybe it wasn't even around to the level that it is now. And it can be really lonely. But one of the hardest things to do is to ask for help and to actually go, that is a weakness, and accept that you do, like accepting that you're not brilliant at everything. Because, like, spoiler alert, social entrepreneurs were winging everything. Do you know what I mean? It's like, no matter what experience you've got, it's like you're doing so much for the first time every day, every month. So people that look at me and Hayley and go, they've got it together, we're winging it. Like, and we have, but we've been doing it with sort of calculated risk, and we're trying to get as informed as we can.
And you're doing it with an honesty, I think, as well.
Transparency about it. That's the important bit. It's likewise,
And I think there's something you said there about accepting that you've got a weakness. I know for me, like when I reflect now on my business, not that this is about me at all, but on my business, there's something about, especially for us in our organisations, because they're our babies and they're our heart and soul. None of us are in this gig to go and get the pay slip at the end of the month, are we? If we were in it for the money, we'd be doing something altogether different. Do you know what I mean? So it's your baby, it's your heart and soul. And there's something about when you open yourself up to somebody to come and have a look and a little poke around and a little, oh, have you thought about, oh, I don't like that bit, don't do that bit anymore. And you should be. And there's kind of like something really personal about it that can feel really vulnerable about inviting somebody in to come and have a look at what you're doing. And I loved what you said there about there's a strength actually in saying that, and say, come and have a look and come and help us. I think that's a really important point. And
equally, when you further down the road, there's a strength in saying, I need this introduction. Can you help me? Is it like for us? It's absolutely changed the landscape of our sort of daily lives. We've gone from having jobs and then sort of owning businesses to this thing's taken over. But a bit like what you're saying with the boxing, it's families and it's ladies and the real and it's names and faces, and you can say that person now works for us, and like both of our mentors have been through our program, Sophie and Ebony, and us knowing that we've got weaknesses means that we've been able to empower them to actually change funding futures. So that they've, particularly Ebony, has made funding futures into more of a wraparound service. So now for our ladies, not just the programs and the support, we can now issue food bank tokens direct rather than there being a 2-week wait. We can give data and SIMs for people in data poverty. We're now an access point. We're a fast track counselling referral. We're a J9 safe space. So we're domestic people who've survived or fled domestic abuse. We're a first point of contact. All our staff are trained. So it's allowing people in, trusting them and empowering them has absolutely transformed and scaled
and
what they do.
That kind of sight of the experience of the women who've been through your program, for them to be able to shape the program, that's phenomenal. And that's similar to what you were saying with Sam on the apprenticeship, and to be able to then come in and with those eyes of somebody who's been through and experienced the support and stuff.
And watching them, you're watching that evolution. You know, I stand there and I'll listen to them coach classes now, and I'm thinking, it's amazing this, you know. It's funny because you're hearing your words come out of their mouth, but when you say it, your coaches are coming out of your words are coming out of your mouth, you know. And it's that we call it the ripple effect, you know, where a coach makes this impact and then that goes on, and you're thinking all these apprentices will carry on making that ripple effect. So you're having this, you know, this amplified effect, really.
Yeah, absolutely. And so for you then, what do you, if you were to sort of think about the impact of the mentoring specifically, what has that been? I've heard you speak a bit about, you know, you can go out to schools and you've got a pitchable offer now. Is that?
Well, we like you say, you were very specific about what you needed. We needed help with everything. You know, we were the only thing we were doing was putting things on social media, because Alex did that.
Yeah.
And that was a big part of, you know, growing elite boxing. So then we were doing that, but we weren't doing all these other things. We weren't on LinkedIn. You know, the website was pretty rubbish. You know, we had to get everything on there. So then, you know, we got someone putting everything on the website. We started tracking the data. You know, we got some, software to track the data so we can prove all the differences that we're making. We just needed help with everything. You know, we needed to bring it up to speed. And now we're at, then obviously we got Callum in, because I was doing it. And one of the things that used to strike me would be in those meetings and they'd be saying, if you're working in the business, you're not working on the business. And I'm thinking, I'm running to, I'm finishing coaching, same as I've done today, rush down here, then do this or do the meeting and then rush back to the gym and then you're coaching again. So we got Callum in. And Callum's actually working on the business and he's done a fantastic job. I don't tell him often because I don't want to give him a big head, but he's brought everything up to speed. He's carried on what we started then, and it allows us to, the coaches to stay on the mat, doing what we're supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
Teaching boxing.
Yeah. Well, and a lot more than teaching boxing, do you know what I mean? But yeah, and again, it's that being in and being on the business. In a previous podcast, somebody there had a conversation with Michelle Hill, talked about the difference between being on the dance floor and being on the balcony, and that sometimes you've got to be on the balcony to be able to see actually what's going on and where you can make the changes. And I think that's something we hear that over and over and over again, the ability to create capacity for you to be able to have a look from the outside, actually what's going on is so important. What about you, John, then? I know we've had lots of conversations about the impact of the mentoring and what that's meant for you. Like, where is Recycle at the moment and kind of...
It's got its big boy pants on.
It's big boy pants on.
Yeah, it's going against the ITAD industry and being a disruptor service. Yeah. But yeah, it's we've had consultants in. So after the mentoring, we commercialized. We looked at our strategies. We sat with the board and the steering group, and we worked out. Okay, we can draw down revenue from the different parts, and we can commercialize our offer, and we took on AI as well. We started using ChatGPT and started a paid account as part of the bursary, as part of the
I heard you talk about the impact of AI.
Yeah, so we created a customized AI agent or whatever you want to call them, chatbots or however it is, tailored specifically to our organization. And it has our cash flow forecast, our business plans, it has our stock and flow, it has custom instructions. And we started working alongside that because we realized after the mentoring, we are a business. We're a business with a capital B. And you have to keep the lights on, and we have to make a profit. And after year on year end, we'd like to see 20% increase and all the rest of those KPIs and all the rest. Yeah, we'd like that too. But underneath it all, yeah, we're social. We're community orientated, and we're co-produced, and we're created, and those values, like we've all talked about, we're creating these organizations around us with the people around us, and they are part of that ingrained. They're part of that build, that's the fruition of what it comes to. So using the AI and doing all that rethinking and business mind oriented, and having the growth company come along as well, and Adrian Ashton and his different flavors of incorporations and everything else. It really does has put the business side end on us and made us realize, actually, it's like, Billy, why aren't we going for the big contracts? Why haven't we got that confidence? We're unique, we're special. And in fact, I might want to come back to you and actually ask you if you could do us some mentoring on the social impact and how do we do that? And maybe we can help with the digital side and donate some equipment over to you because the one thing that we're kind of lacking now is tracking the social impact that we're having. Yeah. We have our theory of change, but we're not monitoring and measuring it in quite a good as well a way as we could. Especially as we go into this next chapter now, where we're going to be going for contracts. We've got the framework for our ISO 9001. So that's a quality assurance management system that says to every other organization and business that we can do the same service again and again to the same standards. And it's quite a big step for a community organization to go through, ISOing ourselves and standardizing ourselves and going through the lean journey. But I think it's necessary. I think there's a lot of social businesses, unicorn groceries, that do amazing amount of good. And if you commercialize it, if you actually put in, like you say, you get your ducks in a row, you've got a legacy organization for the next generation to come in and adopt and be that. And that's what I want to see for Recycle IT. We're doing the ITAD, doing the service, the e-waste collection service for large organizations and contracted for bodies and associations around us, and then passing the usable equipment back on to the community, whilst teaching them, well, hang on, we're on a rock and recycling is important.
Yeah. No, exactly. There's what I love about Recycle IT is the social and the environmental impact are kind of just woven together seamlessly. It's both all the time through everything that you do, And you're absolutely right what you say about commercialization. All three of you can do all the social good. It's like there's no social without the enterprise, which seems like a bit of a glib twee thing to say, but it's really true. If you can't keep the lights on and you can't do the work, none of them women are getting that experience. None of them kids are coming through your program. None of those people are getting that equipment. And it's really important. And it's really lovely to hear you all talk about where you're at on that different journey.
You're welcome.
And there's a couple more things that I wanted to ask you. One of the things that I've heard you say loads of times all through this conversation is how much you've had to sort of pivot is the word, isn't it? Do you remember during COVID when that became a word that we all suddenly learned?
Yeah.
Pivot. But what I hear is all three of you constantly reevaluating what you're doing, changing how you're doing it, thinking about what's the next step now, what's the step now, and that's tiring work. So I'd love to know what inspires you? What inspires you to keep innovating, keep changing, keep going?
Because if we don't know, who will?
Yeah.
Bottom line is there's the educational, the governments, every system will create things to deal with situations and problems, but there's always gaps.
Okay.
Time immemorial, there's always been gaps. And I think it's community organizations and entrepreneurs and social people like us and the some of us are the misfits of society, and we see those gaps and we see those margins, and we're the ones who step up and come up with that's a genius idea.
Without a doubt.
Yeah.
You hit the nail on the head there. For us, I think a lot of boxing coaches, we've come through certain backgrounds, we've come through, certain issues, and then you see these kids who've got too much energy and they're making the same mistakes that you made. And you're thinking, we want to help them get into, use boxing. And it's using sport, I think, for a lot of kids, using sport as a vehicle to change the behavior. to get rid of that energy and to surround himself with positive role models, and then start emulating the behavior of the positive role models rather than, the people he'd be out with on the street instead, and making those changes, and that's why I see happening in our gym, and I think that's what drives us.
Yeah. No, well, I see that happening as well. And that, go on, Billy, what about you?
I'm slightly different in that I've got Hayley. And so it's like every day is different for me. So my wife is like, I want to do this, I want to do this, I want to do this, I want to do this. So I feel like my job is staying behind Hayley, and every time she wants to go off on a direction, I'll go, this is where we're going. Or if it's like good, we'll put it in, but just a bit further down. So I'm like constantly like herding cats with Hayley. But I must admit, like, I'm now fully bought in to, I genuinely believe that communities know their own solution.
Yeah.
Yes.
Great.
And I don't think I did when we started this journey. We saw a need, and as we've exposed more of that need, you understand that everybody's different, every community is different, every area within a community is different, and without the engagement and buy-in of a community, it won't really change anything. So I genuinely believe that, particularly with Greater Manchester and Bolton, we're entering an age where communities are empowered to help themselves.
Yeah.
And I think that fills me with like a lot of like hope and ambition that we can play a fundamental part in that, because I like to think with the ladies that we've worked with, it's made us, because people say grassroots, but we're touching that problem every day. It means that we are an authority, and the idea of someone, so far removed from that community making a decision on what's best for it, it's just fundamentally wrong. So I'm really driven by being part of a solution and engaging with service users and stakeholders to find our own solutions, because I'm sure, like in Hallowell, there's so many areas of Bolton that need help, but like me, who's not from Hallowell, I can't say what it needs, or what the kids are how they're behaving. But for the women that we support, like that's where I've got authority, and that's where people like us should be empowered. And be part of a change process.
Yeah. And like you say, either because you yourself have lived through that, you've got that, we call it lived experience in our sector now, don't we? But people who, that you've experienced those spots, yeah, absolutely. Or because you have a really open dialogue with the people that you support, and you're learning, and as you say, you're bringing them into the operational structure of your business, and they're influencing what you do. And I agree entirely. What I see all the time, it's through all the people that we engage with through Proper Good, is you've got people who've got experience of an issue, either directly or indirectly. They can see a solution, and they're working in order to sort of build a livable business around.
We all just need that help off you to bridge that gap, don't we, to get that knowledge, to be, to put in touch with each other.
Yeah.
To help us be them change makers.
Yeah. And well, that's a wonderful way to put it. And that's, that's exactly what we're here to do, because it's really important for all the reasons that you just said, Billy. Like, somebody parachuting in from somewhere else with a solution for our communities isn't actually a solution at all, is it?
It doesn't work in government. It doesn't work in council.
Do you know what I mean?
Work.
And also, there's something, the reason why I care about social enterprise is because it's like, it's revolutionary in terms of the economy as well. Do you know what I mean? Actually, you're all living and working to create a life for yourselves and pay yourselves a wage, but you're also, you're creating jobs for people in the future through the gym, through your place, for all the people who come through your apprenticeships and training programs. And actually, you're kind of upturning any money that you guys make is directly being reinvested into our communities. And for me, that's massive. That's got real potential to change the life opportunities.
We don't do it for the wages, for sure. No.
A big part is like networking with each other and seeing what each other are doing, and seeing this, how you're scaling things up, and looking what other people are doing, go, right, can we actually do that?
Yeah.
And in the last 10, 14 years or so, social enterprises and the whole sector, the third sector, has moved ahead a lot and become more recognized as social value actors, because it's actually gone live and final, although it's still being rolled out. But that means that contractually, public contracts, part of their weighing scale now is 10 to 30% on social value. So other companies, by engaging with us, they can tick their boxes, they can engage in their contracts and go for it. Just simply by running programs, doing things with us, or recycling with us, or either way. So we feel a lot more confident now as a social business than 14 years ago or so.
Okay.
Yes.
That's really interesting. It's one of the things that I wanted to kind of ask was not really, I didn't want to ask about challenges because things can become negative, but about like, so what are the opportunities at the moment, like in our sector? And it sounds like you've touched on one there, that actually the commercial business world, taking it seriously, there's an opportunity around social value there. I mean, do you guys feel like you're seeing that and benefiting from that? Is that something that's kind of on your radar, that there's an opportunity there?
I think there's definitely a change, isn't there? You can see, these, the people need to, people want these changes, don't they? People want to see this good done in the community, which I don't think, I've never noticed it before. I've never seen it. And then you realize you're part of the chain, and you think, well, we are actually doing this. And then, but how do we, obviously I always go back to boxing gyms and martial arts gyms, and you're like, how do we get all these gyms to understand what they're doing, all these coaches, so they can all talk about these things, but that's another issue.
I think there's a big part in recognizing what you're doing. I think we had the same sort of moment is when we started to go on the third cohort of students, and we started to realize, actually, no, wait. We're more than just the sum of ourselves and what we do and deliver. It's actually, we're teaching, we're graining, we're planting seeds.
That ripple effect.
Yeah. People will be seeing that, won't they?
Yeah.
And they'll be inspired by it. Hopefully more people will follow suit.
I do prison talks and that now to inspire people that, it's not just the end of the road. You can, if you want to try and get up a ladder and you can't because you've got a record, well, you can make your own ladder.
Yeah. That's a beautiful analogy. Absolutely.
There's always a way around it.
There is, yeah.
And that's what this offers, I think. This world of social entrepreneurship kind of offers a ladder. It's a really good way to put it.
There's definitely an opportunity though with the Social Value Act coming in, and I think it's going to be, there's a time frame where people who bid for public work need to come to people like us, and there will be a short window where we're the experts.
Yes.
And
we hold the chips.
They need help in delivering something. And because it's new for them, we're the experts. So it's a real opportunity to capitalize and expand what you do and who you do it with.
Commercialize your offer.
And that's a really good point there. And I'm just going to plug the Proper Good program in there, because that's exactly what we're here for. If you're watching this and you're listening, you're an entrepreneur and you're thinking, oh, actually, maybe I could get a bit of that pie. Well, then all the workshop, everything that we do through Proper Good is designed to try and help you and your organisation to skill up, commercialise, but should have that confidence. Well, what you talked about here is about confidence, to succeed. I'm mindful that we might be at time. I have no idea how long we've been talking for, but so two things I wanted to ask. In a sentence, somebody starting up now, if you were going to give them a piece of advice, what would you tell them? Go, Billy.
Always ask yourself, so what? Because that's what other people need to know. And if you can answer, so what, it's worth carrying on and keep going.
Love it.
Good advice.
Scott.
Get in touch with Proper Good. Oh, there you go.
You can come again. And what about you, Jim?
Find something you're good at and do something good with it.
Nice. Let's get t-shirts from all of these, couldn't we there? That'd be social enterprise venture, couldn't it? Right there. Always on the hustle. This has been a gorgeous conversation. Thank you so much for coming and spending this hour. It's been just wonderful to speak to you. Your contact details will be on the end of this. So anybody who's interested in the work of Funding Futures UK, Elite Community Hub CIC, or Recycle IT CIC, then the contact details will be on the end of the podcast. Thank you very much.
Thanks for having me.
Very well.
Thanks a lot.
Bye.